Hello and welcome to Tech Gets Real. My name's David Meyer. This week we'll be discussing one of the most important issues around AI at the moment, which is that of resource consumption, the amount of energy and water that AI data centers are using. It's an issue that's already causing strain for some communities around the world, and it's going to become more of a strain as AI becomes more popular. So let's talk about it. It's not as clear-cut an issue as it may seem at first, but before we get to the meat of the matter, please consider hitting subscribe for this channel, because this is very early days, little more than a month into this channel's existence, and it really helps me get it off the ground. So subscribe is good. Let's get into the issue. Last week, the New York Times published a rather worrying article about the effects of the data center boom around the world. It focused on a new Microsoft data center in central Mexico, which has apparently been causing power cuts to become more frequent. It has been making water outages far worse, and apparently this is leading to school cancellations, the spread of stomach bugs, health clinics having to send patients to hospitals far away because the power cuts out. And it's not just a Mexican problem. The electricity and water issues have led to new restrictions or cancellations on the construction of data centers in Ireland and the Netherlands and Chile and various places in the United States. People are pushing back. It's become a big protest issue. And here's where we need to drop in our first major caveat, which is that not all data centers are all about AI. The current AI boom only dates back 3 years to the introduction of ChatGPT, but the current boom in data center construction dates back around 8 years. And if you think about it, that makes a lot of sense. We've been using a lot more online services over that period, things like streaming, and these all require more and more data centers. But it is also very clear from the trends that data center construction has increased even more since the AI bubble began inflating. The energy requirements of AI chips are so great that we're starting to see tech companies build new data centers on the grounds of nuclear power plants, with the idea that the entire output of a nuclear reactor could be directed at one AI data center to satisfy all of this projected demand. I mean, one nuclear reactor is what's needed to power an entire city. That said, we're looking at a complicated picture here. There's a great article by the journalist James Ball that came out a couple of months ago. I'll put a link into the description, that pointed out that the energy and water usage of one ChatGPT prompt at the moment is about the same as the energy and water usage of a Google search query 15 years ago. One can expect the AI companies to optimize their processes in the coming years because it's in their interests to do so. They're paying for the energy, so the less they use, the better for them. Efficiency is good. To quote Ball, a single ChatGPT query uses about the same energy as running a microwave for 1 second or a games console for 6 seconds. When it comes to our individual carbon footprint, AI is a rounding error. What's more, we're likely to see people use AI more and more on their own devices in the future, rather than connecting to the cloud. There are various benefits to this, such as getting a quick response. You don't need a connection. There are big privacy benefits. So it's a likely trend, and it will reduce the importance of AI data centers. But it is still likely that as AI becomes more and more embedded in our lives, we see AI data centers becoming more prevalent and using more energy and water. Now, the energy and water issues are not quite the same. With water, for example, the solution would seem to be build big new data centers in places that have lots of water that's available for that use. And you'd think that was obvious, but there's this huge argument going on at the moment in Tucson, Arizona, over a big new Amazon data center project, where the locals are pushing back because, well, I'm just going to quote Ed Hendel, president of Sky Island AI from Tucson, who told The Guardian, "Putting water-guzzling warehouses of computers in a hot desert is not a good starting point. Putting them in a hot desert in the midst of a drought is even more absurd because that water is precious. You can't just whip up new sources of water just like that. But you can whip up new sources of energy." And so that then becomes a question of where are you going to get the energy from? And it's not just AI data centers that need all of this energy. We just need to use a lot more electricity these days than we previously did. And that trend is going to continue, particularly as we try to grapple with the climate crisis. For example, electric vehicles are great because they don't burn gas, they don't emit carbon, but they do require charging. That needs energy. The fact that we live in a heating world means we need more and more air conditioning to live comfortably. That requires energy. In this big picture, AI data centers are a relatively small piece of the puzzle. And the question here is, well, where does the energy come from? And that is a matter of choices. You can run an AI data center on clean sources, or you can run it on dirty sources. At the moment, a lot of the AI boom in the US is being fueled by dirty sources, in particular the burning of natural gas, which is terrible for carbon emissions and the heating of our planet. Elon Musk's xAI is using methane turbines to power its AI data centers in Memphis, Tennessee, and that's causing significant worsening of air quality for the communities that live around there. Surprise, surprise, poorer communities. There is nuclear. The nuclear industry is always looking for a window of opportunity to get back in the good graces of society after the last few decades of not that, and obviously has glommed onto the AI boom as a chance for its revival. That's understandable. It's a complicated issue, nuclear, probably a subject for a different video, but I wrote a big article on nuclear in the context of AI data centers a year or two ago for Fortune, and I personally came away with the conclusion that nuclear power plants that are running at the moment make sense. There is a big issue with nuclear waste that has not been resolved, and that's a serious problem. But the biggest issue for nuclear in this particular context is that it's too slow to build. It takes a decade or something like that to build a nuclear power station. And if the projections for AI demand are correct, then we're going to need a lot more energy a lot sooner than that. And the solution to that is renewables, wind, solar. These things are cost-effective, they can be built out quickly, and they can be brought online in stages. It's not like with a nuclear power plant where you've got to wait until the whole thing's finished before you can bring it online. The switch to renewables does present its own challenges. Obviously, the sun doesn't shine all the time, the wind doesn't blow all the time. You've got to build a lot of battery storage into the electricity grid. You've got to connect these solar and wind farms to the grid. But really, it's a no-brainer. Renewables are the solution. And we're going to need a lot more energy really soon, so we should be building out more and more renewables. That's a wider discussion, but the long and the short of it is, I personally wouldn't have too many feelings of guilt about the environmental impact of AI if it was not really having that much of an environmental impact, if it was being powered by the sun or by the wind. It all just comes down to the choices that we make as a society. I hope you enjoyed today's episode, and if you did, please hit like and subscribe, and let me know what you think about the issue. Obviously, energy and water consumption are among the most pressing issues of our time, so they're controversial. People have ideas. Let me know yours, either in the comments below if you're watching this on YouTube, or if you're listening on one of the podcast platforms, throw me an email. My address is david@techgetsreal.com. See you next week.